Welcome to another video on the series of automating with WebdriverIO by 17september.net. Here in this video, we'd like to take a look at how we can use Docker to automate our or run our automation scripts. So the high level agenda is to kind of first create some automation scripts so that we can kind of apply with Docker. So first step would be to create some automation scripts. For that we are using the default scripts provided by WebdriverIO. So while we are configuring WebdriverIO, they provide us with some default scripts which we are planning to run it in Docker. So here again I'll explain about how we can configure the WDIO.conf.js file to run it in Docker. So I'll explain about the various settings that you have to do to kind of run that in the Docker containers. And the next thing is to kind of how we can set up the Docker compose file. So the Docker compose file is kind of a way where we can bring up the containers as per what you mentioned. So we will make use of the images provided by Docker Selenium, that is Selenium Hub. Then you have Node Chrome and Node Firefox images. So we will run Node Chrome and Node Firefox at scale as well as a single node as well. So we will talk about how we can control all of that with the compose file. And we will talk about how we can run the compose file and bring down the compose file so that all the containers are brought down after execution. Then we'll see how we can run these scripts, and then I'll explain about how we can optimize the use of containers to achieve the best results. So I'll have a bit of explanation about how we can use Docker stats to see how your system is performing when multiple containers are running. Okay, that is about what I'm covering in this video. If there is anything that you would like to you would want me to explain in detail, please add a comment. I will take that and create a video in the future. So without further ado, let's get into the video or the picture representation of how we have the scripts ready. So on a high level, you have the automation scripts which uses either the Mocha framework or the Cucumber framework. All Mocha framework would be spec files, which is kind of a JS files. That's why I have it here. So let's assume that you have 6 different spec files, and if suppose you're using a Cucumber framework, then you have 6 different feature files. So all these are ready, and then our main gateway or entry point to run all these scripts in Docker is through the WDIO config file. So the WDIO config file will tell where the hub or the grid is, and then we'll also have the services part related to Docker configured in the WebdriverIO config file. So that's the main thing that you get from here. So the second part is the compose, as I explained earlier. That will be the one which will orchestrate what are all the images to run and at what scale. When I say what scale, how many number of nodes do you want to run and stuff. So that will be displayed with the Docker compose file. And for these all to work, we need the base of node server. You need the system terminal to kind of communicate, and also the Docker. So I've given this image as a brain because this represents the Docker daemon. So Docker daemon is kind of the brains behind Docker, which will be essential, or like that will be the main thing that will communicate or like ensure that we achieve what we want with Docker. So Docker Hub is a place where we have all the images present. So for example, the 3 nodes which I spoke of from Docker Selenium, which is the Selenium Hub, Node Chrome, Node Firefox, are all present in Docker Hub. All we have to do is pull this particular image into our local system where we have a Docker installed, and then run those images to kind of get the containers. That would be the Selenium Hub container. And if you're going to give 2 nodes or like the scale equal to 2, then you will get 2 nodes of Chrome and 2 nodes of Firefox. So the hub will be the one which will communicate with the scripts that you have in JS or Cucumber files, and then that will be kind of running on the containers, which is free for the browsers. And once the execution is complete, that will pass the scripts back to the reports that we have. So this is on a high level how the execution will happen. So we will take a look at how we can do that in the demo that is coming up from now. I'm inside the WDIO Docker folder which I created. You can just create in whichever location that you want. The first thing that you need to is to kind of create your package.json. So you can create that by initializing npm. So npm init -i will give you the package.json. So package.json doesn't have anything inside it. We just have to kind of build on top of it with respect to whatever dependencies that we need. So next thing I'm going to do is to kind of install the client for WebdriverIO. Not client, my apologies, it's the command line interface. I always get confused with that. So npm install WDIO CLI. So it's the command line interface for WebdriverIO. So once this is installed, it will download all the necessary packages that it needs for it to function properly. You can see that once the installation is complete. Yeah, it's taking a bit. Let's wait for it to kind of complete. Okay, so you can see that there are 28 packages which is looking for funding, and there are 294 packages that has been downloaded for CLI. So that is how much intensive and exhaustive this WDIO CLI is. So for you to run all your automation scripts, you need this to be kind of the base that you need. So once you have downloaded all the CLI, then you need to kind of configure your automation scripts, and also tell WebdriverIO like what you are basically doing. So that we can do with configuring your WDIO config file. So WDIO npx WDIO config. Yeah. So once you have done with this, our main intention is to run it in a Docker. So let's choose. I have to run on my Selenium cloud. So what I'm planning to do is to kind of create a grid, and from the grid I have a few nodes attached to it so that we can control what we are running on that. So I'm going to use the Selenium cloud, and I'm running it on my local machine. If you're running it on a different server, just mention the server name here and also the port. So the next one is just a default. You can proceed. So I'm not going to do anything fancy. Mocha framework with synchronization is fine. Just download some default files that comes up with this. Once that is done, I'm not going to use any compiler, and spec reporter is fine for me. So this is where it has to be slightly different. I don't want to use the default Chrome driver because Chrome driver will execute scripts on the local machine. I want to run it on a Docker container. So I want to download all the runners which is related to or the Docker service. So choose the service as Docker. Once you have done that, you can see that WDIO Docker service has been installed. That particular package will be installed. So you can skip all these things and straight away install only whatever you need, and then write your files as well. So I'm just doing it for the sake of showing showcasing. So I'm not going to do anything fancy. Alright, so now we have all the stuffs downloaded. So the next thing I wanted to do is to kind of create my Docker Compose with whatever I wanted to achieve. So for Docker Compose, okay, so go to Google Chrome and then search for Docker Selenium. So once you search for this, the first result will give you the location where you can find all the details that you need to kind of create the containers and up and running, bring the containers up and running. So Docker Selenium provides a list of containers. You can see that Node Firefox, Node Opera, standalone Chrome, standalone, and also for debug they provide all the details as well. I'm more interested in using it through Docker Compose because that's kind of fairly quick and easy as well. So I'll go here. Once you scroll down all the way at the bottom, you see that Docker Compose version 3. If you come here, you'll have the version or the Docker Compose file available for us to kind of use. So copy this. Perfect. I'm done with that. The next thing I wanted to do is to kind of come to my location and then create a Docker Compose file. So docker-compose.yml. Once I've created that particular file, I'll paste it. So let's save it as well. So here you can see that there is one image called the Selenium Hub. There is another image called Opera, which is the Node browser. It's the Opera browser image, the Firefox browser image, and the Chrome browser image. I don't need Opera. Let's get rid of it. Done. So now we have Chrome, Firefox, and Selenium Hub. So here there is few more changes that you need to do. So if you are going to run only one node of Chrome and one node of Firefox, this is absolutely fine. But when you're looking to scale to different number of nodes, especially for Chrome and for Firefox, for example, I want 3 or 2 nodes of Firefox and 2 nodes of Chrome. So then you can't do with this particular port setting. So because what this means is that 6900, which is your local port, will be talking or communicating with 5900 of the container that you're going to create. So if this is going to be restricted, we can't use it for multiple containers. So I want to remove this. If you remove this, what it means is that you are telling Docker to kind of create a random port number and assign it to 5900 of the new port that is being created, new container that is being created. I'll do that for both Firefox and Chrome. So once this is done, save it. Perfect. So now what we can do is like I'll create a separate grid, and then we can see how we can bring up the grid, cell name grid, and the nodes. Okay, so it's very simple. So all you have to do is to kind of go here, docker -compose up. If I do -d, it will run in detached mode. I won't be able to see the logs that is being generated inside each of the container. I want to see all of the logs in the same section, which is not going to be of much use, but it will give you some perspective in terms of what's happening. So I'll do that without detached mode. So once I do this, then you can see that it creates its own network, and then there are different nodes that is being created. So you can see that there is WDIO Chrome driver, and there is one Firefox node. So but this is not what I want. So you can see that everything is up and ready. So let's bring it down. So docker -compose down. So what this command will do, will just remove that particular node, as well as also it will stop the node as well as remove that particular node. So I needed to do it for multiple containers is what we said, right? So basically we'll do this. So there is a command called scale, so 2, and same thing you can do with Firefox. It need not be the same number, it can be whatever you wish. So let's, yeah, since it's YML, you'll have to kind of have it in the right indentation as well. So let's, yeah, so now we can redo that all over again. So docker compose -up. So once you do that, you can see there'll be 4 different nodes that will be created. Yeah, you can see Chrome 1, Chrome 2, Firefox 1, Firefox 2. So hub is done, so the 4 nodes are done. So let's wait till everything is complete. So you'll have to wait for this commands or like the logs to kind of stop. So this is like the initial kickstart process. So every time you are doing the node and hub setup, you'll have to kind of do this. And yeah, now we can see that everything is up and ready. So now the next thing that we need to do is to kind of configure our WebdriverIO configuration files to kind of run it in the node containers, right? So here we have already said that, okay, if I run in this particular port number. So basically what we are asking is to run the scripts in the hub. Hub will kind of take care of communicating between the nodes, and that's what we need. So here we have specified that we need to run it in Docker service. Okay, so now the first thing that we need to do is to kind of run this particular command. So I don't want to do this every time. So what I'll do, I'll go to package.json, and then in test I'll just put this particular value. It's as simple, yeah, nothing fancy, but just, yeah, save some time. So npm test. Once I run this particular script, we'll see what happens. Okay, so there seems to be an error. So I know what the error is because I just tried a while back. I just wanted to show it to everyone so that you know when such thing happens, what you have to do. So you can see that the version 6.10.9 is what WDIO CLI is kind of using. I've already done this execution with the previous version where I didn't have any issues. So now looking into this further, I figured out that that's a versioning is the main problem. So I have a different set of versions. So basically WDIO 10.5, 6.10.5 and the associated dependencies. So let's just copy this, or the dependencies alone is fine. Yeah, in fact, why not? Let's copy everything. So let's do that again and save it. Once you're done saving it, you'll have to do npm install. Once you do npm install, what will happen is it will overwrite to the latest version that is present inside this particular section. So now you have added whatever is required. You can see the versions, everything is up and ready. So now let's put npm test. So now what you can see is this is an error that kind of keeps coming. I'll have to look into what is the main problem there. So now we can see that you can see some activity on hub as well as the Chrome node. You don't see any activity on the Firefox node. That's because we just have only one script which is present here in the spec files, and you're asking this particular spec file to run in only Chrome, right? So here we have just specified just run it in Chrome. So now if you want to run it, this particular spec file in both Chrome as well as Firefox, so all you have to do is to kind of let WebdriverIO know that you're expecting it to run in both Chrome as well as in Firefox. So we just do this and change the name of the browser to Firefox. Don't need this for Firefox. So that's it. So it's as simple as that. So now if you run this particular script again, you will see that there will be two results that will come up, and also in the right hand side where the logs for the containers are present, you can see that the Firefox is already having some activity, and you can see that the hub will communicate with both Chrome as well as Firefox, and then you will be able to see the results that is present there. So let's wait for the script to be complete. Yeah, you can see that there is two scripts passed. So even though we have only one spec file, it will show it as two passed because you're running it both on Chrome as well as on Firefox. Okay, so now we know that we are running on a two different version of we are having two different nodes for Chrome as well as for Firefox, and the script that we had was just one. So now let's scale it. Let's scale it to, let's say I need to run the script on 4 different files. So which means that there has to be the same spec files, which is 4, has to be run on Chrome as well as on Firefox. So all you need to do is to do npm test, and then you can see that you can see the execution starting to happen. So on the right hand side you can see that the hub will take control of what needs to be run on which node. So there are 4 different files, and you have only 2 different nodes for each browser. So what it will do is like it will take all 4 together, but it will run only 2 at a time. So currently you can see that Firefox is currently running only 1, and Selenium Hub is kind of looking out for whether there is a free node that is available or not. And also the communication that needs to happen will pass through hub to the nodes from WebdriverIO. So that's why you can see that activity there. And now you can see that execution is happening both from the logs in the place where you have triggered, as well as you can see the logs that is happening inside the container on the right hand side. So you can see that 2 of the scripts have passed. So 2 scripts in Chrome has passed and 2 in Firefox have passed. Then we'll have to take up the other 2 scripts, so which will happen automatically. So the hub will kind of pick up all those details, and then you can see that on the right hand side the hub has already started picking up the scripts, which will come up here eventually. So you can see that the logs are coming out. So basically it has to be the other way around. I'm not sure why the lag is there. So here you can see that the scripts are getting executed, and then the corresponding logs in the containers are available. Let's wait for this to complete, and then I'll probably take out to the next part. Okay, so that's done. So there is like 8 different scripts that has executed, and you can see that the activity has subsidized. Okay, so this is it. So basically you have created a setup where you wanted to run your WebdriverIO scripts in using Docker containers. So the next thing I wanted to show is the stats. So when I say stats, depending upon your machine's capacity, you will have to kind of think about how many set of containers you can run. So here, let's say for the same script, if I don't want to run all over again, that's gonna waste some time. I'll delete it, move to trash, right? So I just have 2. I have 2 containers, so it will be just one single run. So now if I start to run, so before we run that, right? So Docker stats will give you what are all the containers that is available, and how much of CPU that is consuming, and how much of memory that is consuming. So I have limited to 2.25 GB of memory. So that is something which I have restricted this particular files. So now what we'll do is that we will see what happens when we trigger the scripts. So we can see that once you started running this particular scripts, then you can go to Docker stats, and you can see that the percentage that we have will kind of vary subsequently. You can see some crazy percentage, 105, 200, 300. It just keeps going. And also the memory usage, you can see that it will kind of increase based on till the time when the scripts are running. So one thing to note here is that try to have a limited set of containers. So that's where I see the most success happening. So there is two different things that I would recommend for users. So one, as you can see, the scripts will keep running here. In the meantime, I'll just show you what we can do. So go to the configuration file, and then there is an option that kind of usually gets commented, but I would recommend for you to kind of uncomment it, so that it becomes a little easier. So there is something called as a retry. I think it should be somewhere here. Yeah, let's see. So retry, right? So retry spec files retry. So if there is a slowness that you kind of encounter over a period of time, what you can do is that just uncomment this to spec file retries. So if you change it to like 1 or 2, so what happens is that if suppose because of timeout something happens, the script kind of fails, then it will retry at the end when everything is kind of slowed down a bit. So this is one option. And the second option that you can do is that to kind of increase the timeout duration. So how much time would you want this particular script to the hub to kind of wait? You can always go ahead and change that particular time frame as well. So this is all I wanted to cover with respect to Docker running, or running WebdriverIO scripts with Docker. And once you are done execution, it's always a good practice to kind of bring down this particular compose file as well. Compose down. So what this one command will do is that it will stop all the existing containers, and then you can see that it will also remove it from remove it from the Docker list. So if you see ps-i, there won't be any container that is running at all. So this will help you kind of save your PC from dying out of exhaustion. Okay, so this is all I wanted to cover with respect to WebdriverIO with Docker. Hope you like this particular video. Thank you. If you like this video, please click on the like button, share button, and also subscribe to our channel for more videos related to this particular topic. Thank you.